He was born like one of us, and he fell for the deception of sin like one of us. As the guilt of all the sins he had done increased, his heart yearned for deliverance, just like one of us. He thought robbery would help him become rich, but more than becoming rich in wealth, he became rich in sins and couldn't escape from it. He was one of the friends of Barabbas. It was during this time that he heard of Christ. They told him that he not only healed men from diseases, but he also delivered them from their sins. Oh, his heart leaped with joy to receive the great deliverance for which he had been longing for all his life. But his friends would not let him find Christ. His circumstance would not allow him to reach out to Christ. He sank much deeper in his sinful ways, lost and without any hope of life. Later in his life, he, his friend, and his master Barabbas were arrested and put in prison. He was spending the last few days of his life in an inexpressible sorrow for the oblivion that was awaiting him. He had given up all hope. Though unwilling to die, he was forced to die. And it was at this time that he was suddenly brought before Christ in the judgment hall of Pilate, the Roman emperor. The penitent thief had thought that Christ was the Savior of mankind. This is his first meeting, and he is shocked to see Christ bound and persecuted as a criminal. Though many among Israel looked upon Christ as a traitor and blasphemer, the lonely dying thief beheld the Creator of heaven and earth. He met the King of this universe face to face, and his heart trembled within. What shook him even more was that, though he had power to save himself, he willingly submitted to the shameful persecution of the Jews and the Romans. He asked why, and the Spirit of the Lord moved his heart and helped him understand that it was for him, and that Christ was taking the sins of that thief upon himself. His heart broke into pieces. That wretched thief could not take his eyes off Christ. It was fixed on that face of love. His friend, who also was with him, scornfully looked at Christ, but the penitent thief was drawn closer and closer to Christ. All three, both the thieves and Christ, lifted their cross and started marching to Calvary. The penitent thief's heart was riveted on Christ. He never missed a scene, and he never missed a word that fell from the mouth of Christ. On Calvary, when the thief was a few hours away from his death, he was brought closest to Christ. Next to the penitent thief was not a savior of worldly glory, but rather a dying Savior, the Savior from sin and eternal destruction, the Savior of his soul. His heart plunged to reach out to Christ, and even at that terrible time, he fell for a temptation and joined with his friend and mocked Christ. But the penitent thief was shocked to see that Christ never retaliated with anger. Instead, he was still willing to forgive. He was lost in the love of Christ, never to return to sin anymore. He could not wait any longer. He could not. Immediately, he called out for help. his heart plunged to the side of Christ, and he said those words, "Lord, remember me when thou comest into thy kingdom." And immediately came the words from the mouth of Christ, "Verily I say unto thee today, thou shalt be with me in paradise." The lordly men of Israel had dishonored and rejected the Prince of Life. The nameless penitent thief of Calvary glorified the King of Kings. Oh, what joy it brought to the heart of Christ in that hour of great tribulation. Lord, I am tired of the joy of this world. Yes, Lord, I am tired. It doesn't give me peace. It doesn't give me hope. It only brings sorrow in the end. Lord, I long for thy heavenly sorrow. I do, Lord, I do. Thou knowest that I do. I pray that thou would fill me with the sorrow of the cross of Calvary all day, all night, and all my life, that I may cry, cry, and cry, and in the end receive that eternal joy which Christ my Lord alone can give. I will sing of Jesus' love, sing of him who first loved me, for he left bright worlds above, and he died on Calvary. I will sing of Jesus' love, endless praise. My heart shall give, he has died, that I might live. I will sing his love to me.